All right. Hello, everybody. Today I got Mark Lee with me, civil engineer of Vapor. And yeah, thanks for joining me today, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Landon. Really nice to meet you and have a chat.
Yeah, nice to talk to you. So, what I like to always get started since I'm pretty young, I'm 18 years old. I just like to know how you got started in your career with civil engineering and just kind of learn about that.
Yeah, I first started learning about engineering at school. I guess I was 15 years old. So in the last 2 years of high school, you get to choose some of the subjects that interest you. And at the time, I was interested in geography and physics and maths, that kind of thing. But there was a new course that the school was offering. It
Mm.
was called Engineering Studies, and I kind of like the sound of it. And I think we only ended up having 5 people in the class that year, but they still ran it. It was a really good teacher, engaged with the group, and they kind of split it into 3 different parts: engineering, drawing, material science, and I think they had like a structural engineering component. And it was by far my favorite subject during school. And I guess after that, it inspired me to choose an engineering degree at university.
Hmm, that's very cool. Yeah, our education doesn't have a lot like that over the last 2 years or so, where you kind of just pick what path you want to have. Like we don't have that kind of limited to like the curriculum or whatever that they have for you. So that's very interesting. That's pretty cool. So, how was university for you? Was it tough, challenging? How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I went to the University of Newcastle, which is just north of Sydney. I guess one of the reasons I picked that was it was near the beach and I could get some surfing in and stuff as well. Um, and it was good. I think the first year or two you kind of do the base courses, and then they start to get into, again, you get to choose the subjects that you like. And I was doing kind of geotechnical and fluid hydraulics and things like that, which at the time I didn't know I was going to end up working in the kind of water and sewer infrastructure industry, but it turned out that's where I landed. So yeah, it was good. I loved it.
That's cool. Yeah. So, after you got out of university, kind of what career did you take on just right after? How'd that go for you?
Yeah, so as part of getting the engineering degree, you need to do, I think it's 3 months of work placement at a company or an organization. And I applied to a few places, and I ended up working in the asset planning section for the local city where I'm at in water and sewer. So I did my 3 months there, and then when it came time to applying for a full-time job, they were happy to take me, and I joined as a full-time role doing asset planning, looking after water and sewer infrastructure, and did that for I guess 10, 12 years before I came across and made the move to vapor, and been really enjoying the time since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Why'd you move to vapor? You just kind of what made your decision to move on?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think one of the reasons was I'd seen the product, and I'd spoken to Amanda before, the CEO of the company, and they had a position, and I was like, I don't know if, business development, and that's what I want to do. I really enjoy my engineering. And then I thought back to um, the way that I was looking after piped assets, and I was like, there really does need to be a better way. And joining Vapor means I can really be a part of changing this part of engineering, not just for me, but for engineers and cities around the world. And yeah, I jumped at the chance.
That's cool. Just saw bigger opportunity probably and hopped on it. Yeah, that's amazing. So, what's your favorite part of working at Vapor and just your whole, I don't know, your role there? Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon the one of the best parts of my role is just being able to create more time for people to do the type of work that they enjoy and the things that they see that's important for their roles. So I get to speak to a lot of organizations and have the opportunity to listen to them speak about what's working well, but also the tasks that cause problems and delays, or that are just downright boring or repetitive tasks. So being able to come in, listen, and then help them make decisions to look after their infrastructure network with improved processes, it's pretty satisfying.
Hmm. All right. Before we move on, I kind of want to get also a rundown of what Vapor does and just kind of just give me your pitch on Vapor real quick. I just want to gather more info, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so Vapor is software, and all we do is we're able to ingest CCTV video that's taken in wastewater or stormwater pipes. It doesn't need to be coded by an operator in the pipe, so that allows them to concentrate, the operators to concentrate on setup, site safety, collecting good vision, looking after their equipment. And then we're able to process the video file using artificial intelligence to automatically detect the defects and pipe features along the pipe. And that's where you have the defect scoring and grading. But then we're able to turn those results into, or help engineers and cities turn those results into decisions, because the purpose of taking CCTV inspections isn't to get a condition grading. The purpose is to look after your assets for the community and the taxpayers. And there's often a challenge to go from, a poor grade condition grade pipe into what should I do? Do I need to line this pipe? Do I need to patch this pipe? Does it need to be done now, or can it be done in 2 or 3 years' time? So our software is designed to make that process much faster, much easier, and give the people working in that space more confidence in what they're doing.
Dang, that's really cool. Yeah. So you mentioned AI, and lately, I've been noticing all this stuff about AI, whether it's on social media and stuff, and it's pretty crazy how transformative it is. And that's cool how you guys are using it for doing CCTV inspections or your software, like you mentioned. It's really amazing what AI can do for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's there and able to remove those really boring tasks that people don't want to do. I mean, I don't think there's any engineer at university that says I'm here studying so I can watch a pipe video, for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, and I've noticed people are really scared of AI and stuff that's gonna take over everything. I'm like, we gotta take advantage of it while we have it right now to get rid of those tedious tasks and just make things more efficient. So that's been a big deal I've been finding out as well. There we go. All right. And then next, kind of, Mark, I just like to ask, what's your biggest challenges you face in your role at Vapor?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think it's not uncommon for organizations to be resistant to change. So while you should be changing processes just for change's sake, this also can be a reluctance to move away from what's always been done. So to give you an example, I was at a recent conference up in Brisbane, listening to an engineer describe their journey through an entire asset management system change across the city. And someone asked whether the change had been easy, and he kind of smiled and said some people get upset if you ask them to change their desk location, and they're trying to change the entire software setup in their organization. So I think it becomes really important to be able to bring teams together, different teams and different organizations that don't necessarily work directly together all the time, and listen to them explain where they think they have inefficiencies within their organization, and then try and articulate the reasons and I guess importantly the benefits on the return of investment and the workflow adjustments that can be made to help them complete their work better.
Yeah, that's change is definitely a big issue within the infrastructure world. I've noticed that talking to people like yourself, some just don't want to change. It's insane. I mean, you got to use the things to your advantage if you want to grow as a business, and then of course improve the infrastructure of the world. I mean, it's insane. So that's kind of one thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that want to help, and even within an organization. I think that when you pull together people with ideas and let them talk about their ideas, a lot of people have got great suggestions, and they just need a forum to speak about it with other people, and that iterative process of looking back at how you've done things and then picking out where you want to make improvements.
Yeah, for sure. So Vapor deals with infrastructure, of course, different waters, sewers, all that. So what do you think is the biggest problem like the world is facing with improving infrastructure?
Yeah, well, I guess especially buried infrastructure sector that we're in, where wastewater and stormwater pipes always have the problem that poor condition assets can just kind of be ignored to a point, right? They're underground, you can't see them. So taxpayers are far less excited about knowing that their money's going towards lining a sewer main than seeing something new and shiny get built on the surface that they can see and feels more tangible. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what ends up happening is the networks slowly degrade across the board, decade after decade. And at first, you don't really see nothing changes. You don't see anything. But then the levels of service begin to slide. Funds are needed to do the maintenance just to keep the pipe networks functioning at a degraded level, right? And then the user pays. So that it's that infrastructure gap, right, where the spending hasn't kept up with the aging infrastructure, and it's a big problem for society, right? I think in the States, right, where you are alone, it was $80 billion, and that was years ago. They were talking about the infrastructure gap. It's just growing and growing since then. So for me, that's the biggest challenge. But I mean, you've got things like the infrastructure bill that's come out in Australia. So I think that's a good thing, right? The discussion around similar measures in other parts of the world is a good sign as well. So I think it suggests that the message is getting through, that engineers and people working in the asset management space have been able to explain the story to the politicians, and they are beginning now to understand that it's serious and we do need a solution.
Yeah, it's taken a while here in the States. I mean, they just don't understand it, neither do taxpayers, and I think we just kind of need a way to like clearly define what like sewer lining or something like that's going to do and how it's going to improve our infrastructure and improve the economics or whatever. So that's kind of what we need more transparency in the B2G space and just in municipalities all around. And our aging infrastructure in the States is not good at all. Like I was on a podcast with Chad Smelter and he was talking about the poor infrastructure. And then I mentioned leaving my generation with this old infrastructure that we're gonna have to deal with. And like
exactly. Yeah, you don't want to get stuck with the bill that grows over time, right?
Yeah. And people are always saying, like my small town I live in Iowa, they're always, oh, we want a park, we want this, we want that. But the municipalities can't pay for it because the fact that we have to reinvest back into this old aging infrastructure that was either not done right or it's just too old, of course. And that's where we need to kind of help maintain better, I would say. And it's just a growing issue that I think will be a very big problem here, at least in the States. I'm not sure about over in Australia, but all depends.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, people expect to have clean, safe drinking water and be able to swim in the local lake. And pipes might not be sexy, but if you don't look after them, then those things can become at risk, and the quality of life changes, and that becomes noticeable, right? You have if you have a sewer network that isn't performing well, it rains and then beaches close and you can't go swimming on the weekend, and that's a direct impact between the condition of your pipes and what you can do in terms of leisure and recreational activities.
Yeah, and people just don't understand how bad it is either. Like this sounds dark, but like until you're someone, they don't have enough water, the water's not coming out of the faucets, that's when they'll realize that, oh, we got to maintain this better. But that's what I think it's going to take for people to realize that we really need to invest in maintaining our infrastructure. So,
and it's not a quick fix. I mean, it's almost too late then, because once you realize that, it takes years to fix. You can't just say here's $1 million and make the problem go away, right? It's a long-term game managing infrastructure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was very good thoughts there. So what I always like to end with my interviews, since I'm a young professional, I would say, starting my career, I always like to just ask, what are some pieces of advice you'd give to like your 18-year-old self when you started?
Yeah, I think one of the best, I think if I'd have had my time again, I would have spoken more to other people. I think sometimes you can be nervous asking questions. You don't want to appear like you don't know the answers to something. And I still see it now. Like if you need help on an engineering project or on whatever industry that you're in, there's people out there that want to help you learn and give you knowledge and help you solve problems and things like that. And sometimes it can be difficult to make connections and speak to people about what you're working on, what's going well, what's not. And I think as that communication network develops, you learn rapidly.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I used to always be like a shy kid kind of and stuff, but past like 2 years, I'd say with like the whole COVID thing, I kind of outbroke my shell and talking to people like you and just kind of building my network, and I've learned a lot of amazing things. So yeah, I really appreciate you hopping on this call with me today, Mark. It was fun. You had some really good, insightful topics to speak about. It was really enjoyable.
Thanks, Landon. Hopefully we'll get to catch up face to face at some point in the future, man.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'll go to Australia all day. I want to visit there so bad. So
do it. Yeah, it's
on my bucket list. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Landon. I appreciate the chat. Cheers.